Well, good afternoon, all of you. Obviously, everybody's aware of the tremendous fires that we have here in Southern California and the devastation it's caused. And obviously, people have lost homes. Many thousands of them have found themselves without a home, without their property, and basically with the clothes that they're wearing. And so, what I like to do is bring somebody before you who really knows what's going on, not only with the government entities, but with regard to insurance issues as well. And this is a real expert, and I'm very happy to introduce you to attorney Jeff Nadrich. So, Jeff, welcome, and let's see if we can help the people understand what their rights are and what they could do about their current situation. So, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on. These are very dire times. My name is Jeff Nadrich, and I have a law firm called Nadrich Law. We have tremendous experience in fires, California fires. But before that, I want to let everyone know that I live in the Pacific Palisades. I'm still here. We were under evacuation. We evacuated, my family and I evacuated out on Tuesday night when all hell broke loose. I got out of here on my house at around 11:30 after I was able to put some fire retardant on my house and stayed with my son. And the next morning I came back and was able to get through. And I've been here ever since because we have all kinds of situations in the last 9 days, one of which is looters. And so, like many of you or some of you, I'm here to protect my home just like everyone else. I have been really blessed because we haven't lost our house, we haven't lost our street. Also, we've had power and electricity and water because our utilities are underground. However, my town is gone where my sons have grown up. It's all gone. I have many clients already whose homes have burned down, who've been evacuated throughout the Palisades and throughout Malibu. So I have the unique distinction of not only doing this for a living and bringing these cases, but I'm living it. I'm also in touch with the local command, fire captains, Tracy Park's office, Ben Allen's office, who's our local state senator. So I'm getting the most latest up to date information as to what the latest is in letting folks back into these areas. Um, I can tell you more about our background, but Herb, do you want to ask me more or do you want me to talk more about my background?
Well, first, I think we should find out who you are now that we know who you are slightly. And you do things called mass torts. Public doesn't generally understand what those terms mean. I'm sure they're wondering about things such as class actions and rights that they may have against their insurance companies if they're insured. Now, I can talk about that. But I think we should expand a little on your knowledge and what you've done before and what you're planning to do. In fact, you told me before we went on the air today that you've already filed a lawsuit.
Well, we will be filing the lawsuit. We're preparing the lawsuit today, but let me give you and the readers, excuse me, the people who are listening to this podcast, a bit of background. I am a graduate of UC Berkeley, and I went to law school at UC Hastings, which is now currently called UC Law San Francisco. I've lived my 90% of my life in Northern and Southern California. I've been in LA since 1985, and we have had a specialty in fire cases since 2017. We have been involved on a very large scale in the Woolsey fire that happened in 2018 in Malibu, in the Thomas fire that happened in 2018 in Ventura, in the horrific campfire in Paradise in 2018, North County fire, McKinney fire, Zog fire, the Hemet fire, and on and on and on. Even the Maui fires last year in 2023 were significantly involved in. So we're fire experts. We've done thousands of these cases to successful resolution where we've gotten our clients paid. We sue in what's called the third party case, which really just means that we're suing against the responsible party. So
Like who would be considered a responsible party? I know we have very little information so far, but just looking at it as an overview, how do you see responsible parties being involved?
all right, we have two significant fires where we have a untold amount of losses. The first one is the Palisades fire, which includes Malibu. The responsible parties that we will be filing government claims, because we have to file a government claim before we end up filing a lawsuit, because these are government entities. An example, the three examples of the government entities that we believe bear responsibility is the city of LA, the county of LA, and the state of California. So also it's the Department of Public Works, but the LA Department of Public Works, but they're within the county of LA. So far, those are our primary responsible parties for this fire. Now, it may come out that there may have been some gas involvement on some underground gas tanks, not gas tanks, but gas lines up in the hills that shouldn't have been there, and then we would be able to also name the utility company, which is Southern California Edison. So that's on that fire. Just as to the third parties, and I want to discuss the other fire, the Eaton fire in Altadena. That's not to mention the insurance claims that every policyholder will have, that Herb and I will talk about in a little while. So in the Eaton file, and then we'll talk about mass torch. The Eaton fire is a different fire in terms of cause, inception, or the inflection point. There is no doubt that Southern California Edison had their trucks, or there was a transformer or something burst and a cable went down, which ignited the fire. So for that fire, we have a clear defendant in Southern California Edison. Now, all of these fires, we represent owners of property who've been burnt down, who've been partially damaged. I have people who just have outhouse pool damage. I have people whose trees were singed, to represent them. And every evacuee has a claim. So if you were evacuated and you have to be out for 1 week or 2 weeks, either fire, you have a viable claim for monetary compensation in California. And before, I just want to talk about the original question, which was mass tort. So this is a mass tort in the sense that there are a mass of individuals who've suffered damage due to one or two or three or four responsible parties. So the thousands of people that we're going to be filing lawsuits for in the Eaton Altadena fire, the defendant is Southern California Edison. So everyone has an individual claim, but there's one defendant, and that's why it's called mass torts and not class actions. There's a distinction. The
What's
same
the distinction?
the
Tell the
distinction
folks.
is that everybody has a unique loss to themselves. Everyone suffered, if it's a heart attack or a respiratory complication because of their pre-existing inability for their bronchial or respiratory system, they have a higher claim. So it's their claim. If somebody's home burnt down, it was worth $2 million, they have a $2 million claim that we will get them. If it's somebody who had a 100,000 partial singed loss, or it's an air quality environmental interior, it's less, but we'll get them that money. So it means that we have the same defendant, but everyone has a different claim, a different valuation claim that will be calculated at the very end of the case.
But they're all part of the same lawsuit. A
Yes.
group of people, which distinguishes it from class action, which is
Yeah, so in a
everybody lumped
class
together.
action, the easiest way that I describe a class action to distinction is, let's say that AT&T or DirecTV had made a mistake and violated a code section and billed us in an incorrect manner. So let's say everybody was billed incorrectly, $4.66. That would be a class of all those people. They would be called aggrieved members of a class. They would get essentially $4.66 times 6 months of this conduct. Very big difference. This is much better for the people, the plaintiffs, our clients.
Each of them being individual but part of the same lawsuit.
Yes, everyone is part of the same lawsuit, whether you're an evacuee or you've lost your home or you have a personal injury or God forbid somebody, one of your loved ones passed away. You all have an individual claim. California allows you to have that, and you're not piled into someone else's claim or someone else's class.
And I wonder whether or not you have experience. Well, I guess I really do know the answer. You have experience with insurance claims. We're talking about right now just direct third party. How about cases directly against your own insurance company?
So let me give you an outline of what will happen, and Herb, you just chime in based upon your decades of experience on this. We are representing people on their claim against the responsible parties. Folks are coming in and talking to us about their insurance claims. Everyone who has an insurance claim. They're to notify their insurance company. And we expect that these large insurance companies, whether it's Farmers, Allstate, State Farm, are going to do right and act in good faith and treat the policyholders accordingly. Now, they have certain requirements that they have to comply with, as does the insured. So, what's happening is that if the insured needs someone to what's called adjust the claim, put it all together for them, we're sending it to a company that we've done a lot of business with that are very honest and completely full of integrity, and they will adjust the claim. Now, if it turns out that they're acting in not in good faith, and they're not giving full value of the claim, or they're not, or they have cited a reason not to pay the claim at all, then you have a bad faith claim, and Herb will go into that. So let me ask Herb that question. Herb, what happens in the instances when the insurance company is not acting in good faith or they are not complying with the California Insurance Code?
Well, there are numerous sections that could be found in the insurance code itself, as well as common law and statutory law. And we call it a bad faith case. And I've had many over my years as a practicing lawyer and from the bench. So uh, the insurance companies have certain obligations, which I have already laid out in a memo to myself, really, with all of the code sections and the references. Now, within the first 15 days after a demand is made, the insurance company must provide you with copies of the claims file and related documents. If they don't do that, then it's a violation. But it's too soon right now to do anything with the insurance companies because you don't know enough. We don't have enough facts.
And you're only referring to if it turns out that the insurance company is not acting in good faith, is not complying with the law. These are all the rights that an insured has directly against the insurance company. Go ahead, Herb.
That's right. There's a certain section of the insurance code, section 790.03, subparagraph H, which is basically the obligations, basic obligations of the insurance companies. Now, a lot of experience tells us about delay. Delay is an act of not good faith, especially when people are homeless. And so if the carriers string it out and don't do anything, conduct an investigation or otherwise, they're subject to not only the damages that are actually sustained, meaning the building, the contents, or whatever, but they're potentially liable for attorney's fees, what they call bad faith fees, and they're entitled to prejudgment interest and the rest.
Well, why don't you just tell them what bad faith fees mean? And remember, this is only in the event that the insurance company doesn't treat you right and there's wrongdoing. Only in these events. Could you tell us what that is, please?
Well, one, of course, they're all laid out in Section 790, but basically you have to act fairly, reasonably, promptly, and conduct an adequate investigation. Those obligations are all laid out statutorily. In fact, I had a case. It was called Essex versus Five Star that went to the California Supreme Court that we won unanimously that deals with obligations of the insurance company. And it's on the web. You can get it anywhere you want. Essex, ESX, ESSEX versus 5-star. And so you can find a lot of that in the cases. And we have been doing this very regularly for like decades. So if you really want to know a particular obligation, I have them all listed by code section and whatever. So it's easy reference for us if you have to go there. It may very well be that the carriers will do what they're supposed to do. They may put together some kind of deal, and keep in mind there's a concept called subrogation. Subrogation means if they pay you, they can go after the party that caused the loss and cause them to pay something. So paying you right now isn't the end of it for them. They got a good shot if they can prove the liability causation. They have an opportunity to get all their money back. And that's what they generally do. They pay you, you give them the right to go after the party causing the damage.
And we know that that's a lot of information. I also wanted to tell the folks out there that we're also handling all businesses, commercial operations where we're able to obtain for them business interruption. The fact that they've lost money for sales is what's called a compensable damage in California, which only all that just means is that we can recover their lost income, the lost sales for their business. And so please keep that in mind. We also can recover a very big recovery if for some reason your property is condemned. There's damages for that. That's a term in law called inverse condemnation. I hope that doesn't happen to you and your property, but there is a claim that we pursue for that. And I want everyone to know that we do all of this on a contingency basis. This will never cost our clients. That my entire career has only been working on a contingency basis because I, Herb, and all the other lawyers that work for me and with me, we believe in representing David against Goliath. We are the common person. We are regular folks that started out just like everyone on this podcast. And we were very blessed by being able to make it in life, but we never forget where we came from. And we never forget that it's a David versus Goliath situation, especially when it comes to insurance companies who have legions of lawyers. And their job, unfortunately, is to collect as much in premiums and pay out as little as possible in claims. That, sadly, is their business model. That's how they make their profit. I'm not saying that this is going to happen to you. Herb and I are not saying that. But if it does, you need to be aware of that, and you need to know that we or someone else qualified are here to help you because we're specialists in this. Herb knows every single aspect, every single ploy, delay, egregious or harmful tactic that the insurance company does, and that we're here for you.
Well, let me just give you a couple of examples, real cases, actual cases. You just mentioned business interruption. Generally, the policies are written with a time period up to a year or whatever. The definitions are going to vary from company to company. But what happens often is they hire somebody to downplay the amount of the loss, and they want to get a much lower number, obviously. Our forensic accountants, and we have those, what they do is they figure out and include everything that should be compensated for under the policy. That's just the way it works. And you find great disparity. There's also provisions in the insurance code. And I wrote a book called From the Trench to the Bench. And in the book, there's an attachment that includes an article I wrote on one of these alternate procedures. So there's lots of different ways to go. Now, a lot of cases get resolved over the question of construction, physical construction. You have a contract that comes in that says it's going to cost you 500,000. They will have, I guarantee you, they will have somebody who's going to come in and say it's only 200 or 250. And so you end up with a dispute over that. And they generally assert something called the genuine dispute doctrine. And they can say we acted in good faith, even though we're apart, it's in good faith. So they will raise that among other things. And the same thing with business personal property. They're going to want to know what you own. Do you have an inventory? Did you keep receipts? You have photographs? Is there a video or whatever? And they will nickel and dime you on the property. So if you say that you've got a wonderful vase that you bought 20 years ago, they want you to prove that you had it there. Number one, what you paid for it. And then you get into the concept called actual cash value, which is fair market value. There's going to be a big difference based on appraisers and people who come along to do valuations. And there's also a policy called replacement cost. Replacement cost means you get whatever it costs you to fix it. One of the problems is that most of the time the lenders, mortgage companies or whatever, have provisions in there what to do in the event of a fire. We will go through your mortgage documents and discuss whatever we need to discuss with the banks or the lenders.
But that's only in the event that the insurance company doesn't do the right thing. That's normally not going to occur with the average claim, right, Herb?
Well, that's true, but generally, if the company pays anything, depending on what's in your lending agreements, sometimes the carrier gets to get the first money and applies it against the mortgage. That doesn't do you any good, reduces your mortgage, but you still don't have a house. A lot of the carriers historically, and it is historical, a lot of the carriers will say, I tell you what, prove to us that you're rebuilding or replacing, which makes our reserves better. Then we'll let you rebuild. They set up what's called a construction account. And we handle those with the various banks and lenders. So you get a chance to rebuild it. Now, one of the things about a replacement cost policy is you don't get that replacement cost until you actually replace. So you could take the money as an actual cash value and run off to Las Vegas if you want. But if you want the replacement, which is usually going to be more, you have to do the rebuild or get some kind of confirmation to that effect. That's all well established in the law.
Okay, okay. Let me just give some quick points. In order to qualify for a wildfire claim, you do not have to own a home. You could be a renter. You do not have to have insurance, what we're talking about. That does not prohibit you from being a client of ours, a claimant in the lawsuit against the responsible parties. Herb and I are only talking about when there's insurance. You don't have to have insurance to file a claim. Now, the time period for you to file a claim is California law is 2 years. So you have 2 years to file a claim. However, the quicker you do so, the better it is that we can help you. We have a tremendous amount of resources. Set up your claim. As a matter of fact, after this podcast, I'll be working with my trial attorneys, and we're filing the first 5, maybe 10 lawsuits today in the Altadena fire against Southern California, Edison. So I just want everybody to know you could be a minor, you could be 9 years old, and we're going to obtain compensation for you. If there's a household of 8 people and they were evacuated pursuant to an evacuation order, it has to be an evacuation order. We will get every person compensation because California law provides that. So it's really important to all of you to know that, hey, this is a conversation about insurance. It doesn't happen to, it's irrelevant to me because I don't have insurance. Not at all. We welcome people who don't have insurance. You have a claim, you're uninsured, there's no problem. Same thing with citizenship. You don't have to worry about the fact that you may not be a citizen and you don't have the rights of an American. You do. You can bring a claim as well. We represent many non-citizens who don't have literally all their papers in order, have a right to a claim in California because that's a different government. That's not the California government. These are California lawsuits. The other question people ask me is, do I need documents in order to make a claim against the insurance company? No, you don't. No, you don't need documents to prove up every item. You have a list. It could be somebody can help you, and the insurance company is obligated to work with you, even if you don't have the documents. They may do what's called an examination under oath with you, and that's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. If you don't have the documents, you don't have anything to show your dining room set, what it cost, or your stereo, or your television, or your kitchen appliances. It doesn't matter. You can still bring a property damage claim. So we're in a situation now where we are in a declared state of emergency, and that gives the insured more rights to do what the insured needs to do in order to be made whole. Herb, do you want to say anything about what I just said?
Well, what normally the statute of limitations is 1 year. And when there is a declared emergency, the statute is extended to 2 years. So you have an additional amount of time to do that. And as far as values are concerned, they may be in dispute, but there are processes that you can utilize to, number one, speed up the process. Number two, have it done where there's very little likelihood of any kind of appeal, and you don't have to wait for a lawsuit to be run through the entire process. And those cases can be worth a great deal. And so, given what you've now said, uh, you want to add anything that think makes uh, explains something more, or have you covered it? That'll get beeped out. But bottom line is there anything you want to add, Jeff? Well, yes, I actually do. I think that you guys, and I've been in this business for a long, long, long time. You guys are the top of the line professionals. You care about the individuals. You work hard. You're reasonable. You're a gambler of a kind. And I think anybody that's had a loss, suffered a loss, should at least talk to you. Maybe fill out some questions that they may have. I agreed that I would review some of these cases before they get filed. Not that you don't need my permission or anything, but I've been doing it for so long, uh, and we've worked together before. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to evaluate each of your cases carefully, and we're only going to take those that have any merit. And so I recommend people that they contact. How do they get a hold of you, Jeff?
Just go to nadridgelaw.com and you'll have all, it's very easy to reach out to us. Just nadridgelaw.com. And our 800 number is 800 718 4658. That's 800 718 4658.
Do you think it's an advantage to coming to a firm like yours because you have such a big volume and you're in touch with so many different people than a sole practitioner or a family lawyer or somebody who just doesn't have the same kind of experience?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, the insurance companies, we were on the steering committee on the Woolsey fire. We're on the steering committee of a very big fire in Colorado. The insurance company knows that we are a large player and that we are taken very seriously. So when the end occurs and when these cases settle, they're going to pay our clients the most money. And so what they do is they pick off the large firms that have a great amount of experience. They settle with those firms of the firm's client caseloads, Herb, and then they'll go to the small, what I call mom and pops, what you call sole practitioners, and they would just say take it or leave it because they know that somebody who's not experienced, who doesn't litigate actively fire cases, isn't going to do anything for their clients. Is going to accept just any number or the best number they can, but they'll just say take it or leave it. I've seen it many times. So it really pay. We all charge the same contingency fee. We charge 1/3 of whatever we recover, and if we don't obtain a recovery, you don't owe us a penny, no matter what.
Well, one of the things that I mentioned in my book, and I mentioned to people generally, is a lot of the smaller firms can't afford the cost of forensic accountants, construction experts, and the rest. One of the big benefits of dealing with your firm and with you is you can afford to do it.
Well, that you made a very good point. Let me tell the audience. I'll give you an example. we've had claims, and this everyone has a home, everyone has beautiful vegetation, everybody has beautiful oak, elm, aspen trees with well, not ficus, but those types of trees that have value. We have been in cases where our arborist is an expert who evaluates the value of foliage of trees, of landscaping and the like. We have had cases where we have paid arborists over $50,000 to $75,000, just their expert witness fees, to come up with a damage value formula of the trees, of 70-year-old oak trees, for example. Those are significant values. So we know what we need to do. We have these people that we hire, and we will bear the cost of whatever it is for our clients to get top value. A lot of these homes have acreage in which the vegetation costs a fortune to replace. And so that's just one example of what we do, not to mention an economist, accounting, and forensic people on the business interruption and how much there was the actual loss due to the fire to a business.
Do you actually make an effort to get advances, for example, uh, while a claim is pending, to make sure that additional living expenses are covered and things of that nature?
Under the insurance policy, if these people have insurance, these folks have a right to that. So there shouldn't be any problem. I have clients right now that are getting advances. I have clients that are getting vouchers that State Farm is paying directly their hotel. People in Altadena. I have people in Malibu, Pacific Palisades that have gotten advances from their renter's insurance for living expenses during this period before the claim is fully adjusted. Adjusted means fully agreed upon or settled. Uh, so yeah, it's happening right now as we speak. A lot of folks who have been evacuated are in hotels and places, motels, and it's being directly paid by State Farm, by Allstate, by farmers under a voucher system. It's a great question. Thank you, Herb. Yes, it's happening right now. If you need something, if you need a clothing allowance, they'll do that because you've lost all of your clothes. You just have to get out with literally the shirt on your back. So, yes, it's in the insurance contract, it's all there. I see it happening all the time.
Okay, you've been extraordinarily helpful. I think everybody learned something from your explanations, and let's see what happens in the future. And I wish you the best of luck for all these people who need it.
Thank you,
So
Herb.
thanks again, Jeff.
We will do our best. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I hope that all of you had gained something from the information we provided in this podcast. And I know that most people are stressed, anxious, and the problem really is it's uncertain because you don't know what to do and when to do it. And these were devastating fires where people, many people, lost everything, not just the home, but the business, income, and personal property, valuable things that may not even be replaceable. And so, what I would like to do is offer to answer any other questions you may have. And I'm not charging any fees for any of it. And all you need to do is you can email me at askjudgeherb at gmail.net. I would strike that .com. I always get those confused. Anyway, I know that the biggest problem is learning how to navigate through the system. And that's the purpose of what we're going to do here in the next few minutes. And I'm happy to respond. I'm not giving any legal advice. Every case is going to be different. And I do not plan to be anybody's attorney. So it's not advice, it's navigation. And it's basically information. So give me a call. I'll be happy to respond if I can and when I can. Keep in mind, these events took place in California, and California law is most likely to be applicable. So if you're from someplace else, this information might not have any value to you at all. Anyway, let's try to make this work for everybody.